A recent report by a foreign rating agency had declared that Nigeria's currency, the Naira, is the most devalued anywhere in Africa.
Its current rate of 1,160 Naira to the dollar
may have confirmed that assessment. Even the CFA franc used by the country's francophone neighbors has since overtaken the Naira in the scale of value vis-a-vis some major currencies of the world. For a currency that used to be accepted as a medium of exchange in places like London, a major world financial center, the present state of affairs is, to say the least, disheartening. It needs to be stated that this unsavory development is recent, as not too long ago the currency was treated with the decency it deserved in its competition with others elsewhere. In those days that were beginning to seem like centuries ago, the productive sector of the country was booming, at least by African standards. Investors, not fly-by-night portfolio investors, were flowing in to take advantage of the favorable investment climate in the country then. The textile factories that survived on the lush cotton farms in parts of the north, the automotive companies that sourced a sizable portion of their imports from Nigeria were doing good business, transferring technology and creating jobs. Tire-producing companies, the Dunlops and Michelins of this world, promoted the cultivation of rubber in parts of the South and were empowering local smallholder farmers. There were many industries producing household products, most of which sourced their raw materials from cocoa, palm oil, and groundnut, all grown in the country. Food drinks were not left out in that drive to really grow the economy and build its gross domestic product, GDP. The success of that effort reflected on the value of the Naira. There was minimal stress on the local currency. Foreign currencies were not as dominant as they are today. Without warning, or to put it correctly, policy inconsistency and ill-advised import substitution preferences subdued the agricultural sector and by implication the industries that relied on it. This was made possible by the years of easy petrodollar that lulled everyone into the state of complacency, especially policy makers who began to feel that money was not the problem but how and on what to spend it. Before the nation realized sufficiently that the economy was on a downward spiral that kept chipping off the value of the Naira, it was already too late, as there was not enough dollar and pound to finance the indecently acquired taste for imported goods and services. A lot of measures were put in place to manage the drift, which ended up compounding the problem that is presently trying to strangulate the Naira. To the consternation of the citizenry already used to bank transactions, when the need for foreign currencies arose, black market emerged from nowhere and took over the space. Their rates have become the benchmark for assessing the true value of the Naira. That market has defied every effort by the regulatory agency, the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), to control its dominance of the foreign exchange market to no avail. Instead, round-tripping a process of obtaining foreign currencies at the official rate and selling them at the black market at high rates has continued unabated. The situation is made worse by the deposit money banks, DMBs, who randomly refer their customers to this market if they needed foreign currencies above a certain limit. Curiously, this so-called black market, an outlet for underhand transactions elsewhere patronized by shady characters, is accepted as the real deal in Nigeria. All these have contributed to the weakening of the Naira, with the disastrous effect that it is having on the economy generally. Cost of living has become outrageously high. Businesses are struggling to keep their heads above water. Unfortunately, in our view, there is no quick way out of the quagmire other than for the nation to reorder its priorities. Already, the nation's foreign reserve is depleted. What this means is that the nation must look inwards if the present situation is to be reversed. Without productive activity, there is not much anyone can do to save a situation that is becoming increasingly there. If we desperately need foreign exchange as we presently do, then we must be ready to earn it. The continued importation of petroleum products is a drain on scarce foreign exchange. Non-essentials like medical and educational tourism at state expense must be de-emphasized. Rebuilding the nation's hospitals, schools and refineries will help. In a considered effort, a serious and determined approach to the diversification of the economy away from hydrocarbon is a policy that must necessarily escape the lip service it is presently receiving. Non-oil sectors such as solid minerals, agriculture and tourism must take the front burner of economic discourse. Above all, it is our view that the nation must wean itself off its import dependency and focus on economic activities that promote local sourcing of raw materials and produce for exports. That is the way to restore the value and prestige of the Naira. What is required is the political will to do the needful. Also, the federal government recently kicked off the disbursement of the planned 25,000 Naira conditional cash transfer to 15 million supposedly vulnerable Nigerian households as part of efforts to ameliorate the impact of the harsh economic situation in the country, compounded by the removal of subsidy on fuel. The program should not just provide cash transfers, but should also include training and support to help the households become self-sufficient. This will enable them to break the cycle of poverty and become productive members of society. Notwithstanding the challenges, it is our opinion that the program is a laudable initiative aimed at reducing poverty. However, those obstacles confronting its workability must be addressed for it to succeed. The government must ensure that the identification process is transparent. It must also increase funding allocation, prevent corruption, and focus on building the capacity of the targeted households. With these measures in place, the program can achieve its intended objectives, and the poorest and most vulnerable households may perhaps enjoy a better life.